So in what is going to be a weekly video on this channel, I'm basically to go through and talk about the winners and losers of each college football week. Whether it's a player that absolutely broke out, a team that won a game they were not supposed to, or if it's a team that got upset and a player who looked really bad. That's the kind of stuff you're going to be seeing in this kind of video. And right before we get started, be sure to subscribe, as nearly 80% of you guys are not subscribed for this season, and I'm tired of saying it, so be sure to hit that button. And now let's get started and talk about the winners and losers of week 1 of the 2021 college football season. In today's video, we're going to do one winner and then one loser, and I have a good amount of each. The first winner is the Georgia Bulldogs. They obviously played in the biggest week 1 premier matchup in a long time, and while their offense did not look very good, they were missing a lot of their top playmakers, and their defense found a way to shut down Clemson, and they ended up getting the pick 6 that won them the game, so props to Georgia for getting that huge win on their resume, and now they should continue on for their march to the college football playoff. My first loser is one of their rivals, Georgia Tech. Many people were expecting the Yellow Jackets to have somewhat of a breakout year, but unfortunately that did not go to plan against Northern Illinois. The Huskies came in led by Michigan State transfer Rocky Lombardi, and they put up 22 points. While Jahmyr Gibbs and Jordan Mason both had good games out of the backfield, Georgia Tech could not get a whole lot out of the quarterback play, and they ended up losing by 1 point, and this is just another L that the ACC took this week. My second winner is Florida quarterback Anthony Richardson. Emory Jones ended up getting the start as he passed for 113 yards and a touchdown, but Anthony Richardson showed that he could be the guy moving forwards. He didn't get a whole lot going in the passing game, but he had 7 carries for 160 yards and a touchdown, and the fact that this guy can both pass and run the ball like that should be a pretty intriguing option for Dan Mullen, and I think by the end of the year, Richardson will be starting, and this game will help fuel that. My second loser is the Washington Huskies. Dylan Morris ended up getting the start at quarterback instead of their true freshman Sam Howell, and I think the Huskies will live to regret that. While he did pass for 200 yards, he threw 3 interceptions without a touchdown. Outside of Richard Newton, they couldn't get much going in the rushing game, as the Huskies team only put up 7 points. Unfortunately, their defense was solid but couldn't do enough, as the Grizzlies kicked 2 field goals and had a touchdown from their quarterback Cameron Humphrey, and they won 13-7 against the number 20 ranked team in the country, and this destroys the Washington season, and especially their game next week against Michigan. Next winner is Hudson Card. You could also combine this as Texas/Hudson Card, but he threw for over 200 yards and 2 touchdowns, and established himself as the quarterback moving forwards. I was really happy with how Texas played, and Jordan Whittington broke out as well. I was super high on Louisiana, and I thought they had a chance to win this game, and while I will admit I was wrong about that, it doesn't take a whole lot away from Louisiana, as I still think that they're a 10-11 win team, and it says more about Texas, and I think they're in good hands under Steve Sarkisian. My next loser is Oklahoma football. Everyone expected Spencer Rattler to bring home the Heisman Trophy, for them to be an automatic playoff team, and that Spencer Rattler was going to be the number 1 overall pick in 2022. While all of that still could happen, they didn't look very good, the defense wasn't quite there yet, and honestly, they were half a yard away from potentially losing at home to Tulane. While under Lincoln Riley they typically do have slow starts, Oklahoma's going to have to get it together if they really want to be a playoff team. My next winner is Bryce Young. In his first career start, he had 344 yards and 4 touchdowns through the air, and proved that he is going to be a dominant force. A lot of people were talking about how Bryce Young wasn't that good, or how he was not going to be as good as Mac or Tua, and maybe Bryce will be better than those guys. At this point we don't know, but when the Heisman odds came out this morning, Young was listed at number 1, and he had a great first game in their thrashing of the Hurricanes on national TV. My next loser is Clemson. DJ Uiagalelei was supposed to be the number 1 overall pick in 2023, and everyone was talking about how the transition of power at that quarterback spot was not going to be affected, and that he would step right in and be a superstar. It was anything but that, as he played scared, he got sacked a lot, didn't make the plays necessary, and the offensive line was terrible. They only had 2 rushing yards, and on offense, they got to figure it out. In terms of the defense, they played spectacular, and made Georgia's offense look pretty bad as well. And while Clemson will probably win 10-11 games and sneak into the playoff, they're definitely a loser from week 1. My next winner is UCLA. I got more hate than any take I've ever had on this channel when I decided to pick the Bruins over LSU in my UCLA preview, and you will just not believe the amount of hate comments I got for that. Well, it turns out I was right, as led by their 4th-year quarterback DTR, UCLA played a near perfect game against LSU at home, and they won 38-27 over a ranked LSU team, and now the hype for them is going to take off, and they should enter the top 25 this upcoming Monday. Our next loser is Sam Howell. Many said him and Spencer Rattler were going to be the two guys battling it out for the Heisman, and Howell did not do himself any favors with his Week 1 matchup. Not only did he lose on the road to Virginia Tech, but he had 3 interceptions in that game and looked like a shell of his old self. He also made a boneheaded pass that ultimately lost them the game, and Sam Howell's going to have to go on a miraculous run and help North Carolina win 12 straight games if he wants any chance at winning that Heisman Trophy. So sorry to Sam Howell's Heisman hopes. Week 1 was not good for you. My next winner is Kenneth Walker III. Not a lot of people expected Michigan State to be good this year, and while the jury is still out on how they're going to do, because I think Northwestern is terrible, Kenneth Walker showed that he made the right move by transferring. He broke out at Wake Forest last year, but in their game against the Wildcats on Friday, he ran the ball 23 times for 264 yards and 4 touchdowns, which was a career night, and he can establish himself as one of the best running backs in college football. And now, pretty much everyone knows his name who followed Week 1. Our next loser is South Florida football. They got absolutely embarrassed against NC State, and this is the 3rd straight time in their Power 5 opener they've gotten shut out. They got killed by Wisconsin 2 years ago, they got killed by Notre Dame last year, and they got shut out by NC State this year. Some are starting to wonder if Jeff Scott is really the head coach for the job there, and not only is their season off to a bad start, but when it comes to conference realignment, USF may be left out because of how bad they become. They're definitely a loser from Week 1. Our next winner is the Maryland Terrapins. This was a 50-50 game in my eyes, and a game that Maryland really needed to win. Talia Tungavaloa played great as he threw for over 300 yards and had 3 touchdowns, as he willed the Terrapins team to a win. Both Rakeem Jarrett and Dante Demas also had over 100 yards receiving and a touchdown, and in my eyes, the Terrapins could be a sleeper team in the Big Ten, and with this win, it only helps the Big Ten Conference as a whole and hurts the Big 12. I'd say Maryland was a winner. My next loser is the Miami Hurricanes. They're expected to open up against the number 1 Alabama Crimson Tide, and while some people thought they'd give them the game, I thought the point spread of 19 was way too low, as we all knew Alabama was going to crush Miami Week 1. Derek King is definitely a loser from this, as many expected him to be a potential Heisman candidate, and he just didn't play all that well, as he only had 1 touchdown and 2 picks, and they couldn't establish anything on the ground as they only had 88 yards and only an average of 2.8 yards per carry. Not only that, the defense could not stop Alabama, as they put up 44 points and probably could have put up a lot more. This hurts Miami's playoff hopes, this hurts their national reputation, and this hurts the ACC. My next winner is Texas Tech football. They were not expected to win this game against Houston, and going into year 3 under head coach Matt Wells, many did not think he would make it through the year, and he was on the hot seat. Oregon transfer Tyler Shuck played pretty solid, as he threw for over 200 yards and had a touchdown, but more importantly, Taj Brooks broke out, as he had over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground, and the defense did enough to win, and getting this win for Texas Tech was humongous, and it also helps the Big 12. My next loser is Indiana football. As many of you guys know, I am an Indiana fan, and there was absolutely no excuses I can possibly make or anything to say, but that was embarrassing. Michael Penix threw 3 picks, 2 of which went for pick sixes. They really couldn't get anything going on offense, and they just looked like they were beat down mentally. I gotta give credit to Iowa as they played a good game, and the fans really came out and rocked. But for this Indiana team who was preseason ranked for the first time in centuries, and for once had a lot of hype, they really dropped the ball, only scoring 6 points and getting blown out on national television, and now they're going to exit the polls, and they got to regroup and figure out what's going on. My next winner is Carson Strong. He's the quarterback for the Nevada Wolfpack, and they went on the road and beat Cal 22-17 last night, and many have said that Nevada could be that breakout Group of 5 school, and that Carson Strong could be the next Zach Wilson, Josh Allen, or Jordan Love. I totally agreed with that statement, and I'm a huge fan of Carson Strong. He had over 300 yards and 2 touchdowns through the air, and led his team to a big win, which helps his Heisman campaign, helps his draft stock, and more importantly, helps Nevada's football season start out great. My next loser is Illinois football. They got a good win in Week 0 against Nebraska, and it showed that the Brett Bielema era was off to a good start. They would have a home game against UTSA in Week 2, and this was a must-win game. If they won that, they would have been 2-0, and when you look at their schedule, I thought there was a chance for them to get to a bowl game if they at least won these first 2 games, but unfortunately, they ended up struggling, and Sincere McCormick had a great game for the Roadrunners, and they went on the road to Champaign and beat Illinois 37-30, and now Illinois' bowl hopes are fading. This one definitely is tough for the Big Ten and for Illinois fans. My next winner is Bailey Zappi. He's one of the best FCS quarterbacks of all time at Houston Baptist, and some people were skeptical that his skill would translate to the FBS level. He settled on Western Kentucky, where in their first game, He threw for over 400 yards and 7 touchdowns and put his name on the map that he is going to be a force to be reckoned with, and maybe he could be the next Brendan Doughty, or who knows, maybe he'll be even better. My next loser is the Stanford football team. They lost 24-7 at the hands of Kansas State, and I'm really worried about this program. Neither Tanner McKee or Jack West really look like they're the future at that quarterback spot, and typically they at least have a good running game. Austin Jones was supposed to be the breakout star, but he only had 25 yards on 9 carries, and the team had 39 rushing yards as a whole. The defense wasn't terrible, but Kansas State's offense isn't anything super spectacular in my eyes, and the Wildcats could have put up more points if they wanted to, but they didn't need to, and the overall trajectory of this Stanford program has been down tremendously over the last 2 to 3 years, and I'm worried this could be David Shaw's last year if he doesn't figure it out soon. My next winner is Tanner Mordecal. He was a 4-star recruit coming out of high school, and was the backup quarterback to Spencer Rattler. He wanted a chance to shine, and he decided to transfer his talents over to SMU. You could say he had a pretty good first game, as he went 24 of 30 for 317 yards and 7 touchdowns. He may have established himself as one of the best quarterbacks in the American Conference. This may mean that SMU football is here to stay, and more so, he's just a winner because he put his name on the map, and it looks like he made the right decision transferring away from Oklahoma. My next loser is Washington State football. They had a quarterback battle between Jaden Delara and Jarrett Guarantano, and neither of them played that well. Delara went 12 of 22 for 155 yards and a touchdown, and Guarantano threw for only 56 yards. Max Borgi did show up in the running game with nearly 100 yards and a touchdown, but the defense didn't play that great to first-year head coach Blake Anderson at Utah State, and this hurts the Pac-12 and Washington State's bowl hopes for the season. My next winner is South Carolina. I'll be honest, I was a big skeptic of Shane Beamer and this team, and when they had to pull their coach off the sideline and told them to start at quarterback, I was not ultra impressed. Noland ended up proving me wrong, as he went 13 of 22 for 121 yards and 4 touchdowns. Zaquandre White also had a breakout game with over 100 yards and a touchdown for the Gamecocks, and the defense shut out Eastern Illinois. And while this was Eastern Illinois, South Carolina proved they have somewhat of an offense, and they looked a lot better than pretty much anyone expected. Props to you guys, and go Gamecocks. My third to last loser is Oregon State football. I was at the game, and I'm obviously a Purdue football fan, but this was a tough break for Oregon State. This is one of those games that they had to win, and it was a win that Jonathan Smith really needed to show that Oregon State was headed in the right direction. And while they had a couple of opportunities, they could just not capitalize on them, and they lost on the road to Purdue, and their odds to get the 6 wins are not looking great at this point. My next winner is Penn State. While Sean Clifford did not play that great, and they didn't get a whole lot out of the running game, Penn State's defense played spectacular. They made big interceptions when they needed to, and Sean Clifford did enough to get them a win in a really tough environment against a really good Wisconsin team. This is one of those games that is an early Big Ten eliminator, and had Penn State lost this game, they would have been behind the 8 ball against Ohio State, and props to Penn State for winning that game. And right on cue, that means I'm going to talk about Wisconsin as a loser. This was a game that the Badgers really needed to win if they wanted any opportunity to get to the college football playoff. While they're probably still in good position to win the Big Ten West, as none of the teams in that division are really looking that good, this was a game Wisconsin needed to win at home. They had multiple opportunities they left on the field, and Graham Mertz threw 2 interceptions late, and they lost the game, and that is not good for the Badgers. And finally, we're going to get to our last winner of the Week 1 of the college football season, and it is the biggest achievement of any team or any player that we've seen in a long time. Kansas football beat South Dakota by 3 points. Lance Leipold got the first win of his head coaching tenure in Lawrence, Kansas, and the students were so happy they stormed the field. This is a big win for the Kansas program, and you can count the amount of wins on 2 hands they've had this decade, so props for the Jayhawks to getting this win, and congratulations. So yeah, that was my winners and losers from Week 1. Be sure to let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. If you want me to do this video every single week, be sure to show your support with a comment and by hitting the like button. Let me know a winner or loser I forgot. And overall, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Subscribe if you're new, and check out all my other videos on the end screen, and all my videos from my 2021 college football season playlist. I hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.